Okay, full house tonight, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, perfect, 5:30. Opening prayer tonight is by Mr. Dave Grant. Everybody stand up, please.
I invite you to bow your heads in prayer. Our Father in heaven, Creator and Savior of mankind, we stand here and acknowledge your greatness and your wisdom. We ask you to give us wisdom for the matters to be considered in these chambers this evening. It is with sadness that we remember the death of Terry Wheeler, noting the role that he played and the guidance he gave to our city. We're grateful for the rains that we received in midsummer, and yet you, Lord, are well aware of the water crisis that we're facing. We know that we're dependent upon your grace to send us rains to fill our ponds and lakes, and so we ask for such rain. As our city council considers the issues before them tonight, we ask for wisdom to make right choices. I pray for each of these city leaders that they will see clearly the details of the decisions that they face, and that they will put aside personal prejudices and work for the good of the community. I pray this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Martinez, would you mind leading us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, now call to order the August 6th meeting of the Recreational and Solid Waste Authorities. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Rodoff?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. No action items, trustee reports regarding these particular authorities. Anybody up here? Seeing none, city manager's report.
Two items, council, on the hospital authority. You have probably recently seen some changes, it looks like HMA is going through, and they have a new administrator, and I just want to let you know, I don't have any details, except I do have a meeting with the new hospital administrator next week, and we're trying to get some answers and see what their vision and direction is for the hospital, and we anticipate they'll provide that to us, and so I look forward to that. And just in a light note, we are wrapping up some of our summer activities, and our swimming pool will wrap up this week. And I haven't told him yet, but he knows it's coming. But our Parks and Rec Director, Chris Warney, will be providing here in September a report on summer activities, pool attendance, and some things for you to be aware of. So he'll be bringing that to you. But we do that every year, so you can understand what we go through. So just a couple items we had this week.
All right, easy enough. Audience participation regarding these particular authorities. Seeing none, now consider a motion to adjourn the hospital, recreational, and solid waste authorities.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Rodoff?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. On to the airport authority agenda. Now consider a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda for the airport authority.
I'll second it.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Rodoff?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Action item A, request authorization to purchase a mower for the airport. Steve.
Council, in your budget approval, you approved a mower. We've had issues with their mower, so we have that placed in the budget. We'd like to purchase. This is actually below state contract pricing, and we recommend approval.
Comments? Trustees?
I noticed in the consent agenda that we have the mower in for repairs. How old is the mower that is currently out of the facility?
Well, it's around 5 years old. It's not that old, but it has been as Tracy and Lisa have informed me, we've had multiple issues with this. We've tried to deal with this, and I actually didn't allow it to go in the budget last year. I wanted to see if we could repair it because of the age of it, but I had to admit that as many times we've had it in there, we've probably exceeded well over $5,000 worth of repairs, and it's just, it's irresponsible for us to continue paying that. We need a reliable mower that we're required by FAA to keep things down. So it's definitely time to move forward on this, and we got some good pricing, and we thought it was a good time to bring it to you.
Consider a motion to give Steve authorization to purchase this mower.
I move we authorize the purchase of the mower.
I'll second that.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Trustee reports regarding the airport authority. Hearing none. City manager's report, Steve.
Nothing further.
Audience participation regarding the airport authority. Seeing none, we'll consider a motion to adjourn the airport authority.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Public Works Authority agenda. Consider a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Yes. Second.
Okay.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Action item A, discuss and consider water treatment facility.
Well, really, council, A, B, and C are together. We have our engineers here, including our hydrogeologist. You've seen the reports, you've seen their information. If you have any questions, they're here to answer those. However, though, we felt it was basically time to move forward, and we are open for discussion regarding this, and we'll turn it over to you for where you'd like to go.
Can you tell us a little bit about, real quick, about the water, what was that water mapping contract?
Sure.
Was that-
Jim Roberts, Mike Kaiser, and Ethan Edwards. You remember them?
Yes, I'm Jim Roberts with PEC, the hydrogeologist. I'm going to just show you, I think the best way to do is to show you an example map of that I generated for another municipality. This is along the Canadian River. This was done a few years back. Basically what we do is we use existing data to generate these maps. The data comes from the Water Resources Board, the United States Geological Survey, and the Oklahoma Geological Survey. And what we want, proposing to do is to generate a map very similar to this so that we can high-grade the selection of potential well locations for any groundwater wells that might be drilled.
So you're gonna map out the Ouachita alluvial?
Yes, and we propose to do that between the dam at Foss to the eastern side of the city. Some areas will have more data than others, and obviously there'll be more detailed mapping in the area where there's more data.
We're not gonna go any farther than you're gonna go to the eastern side of Clinton here?
Yes,
Okay.
where it wraps around to the east.
Okay.
And is that basically just historical information about where the river was?
It is. It's based off of driller's logs as well as published data that's put out by the USGS and the Oklahoma Geological Survey and the Water Resources Board.
Yeah.
And it'll help, what we want to do is develop a map that's very similar to this so that we can better select potential well locations.
Was that for municipal water supply?
Yes, also.
Is the Canadian River water similar?
No, it's the water quality, you mean in terms of water quality?
Uh-huh.
No, it's different water quality.
How's it compared?
It's lower TDS, lower total dissolved solids than the alluvium here.
Is this mapping a requirement for the Department of Environmental Quality, or is this something that PEC and the city of Clinton needs to?
It's not required by it's not a regulatory requirement. We recommend it because in alluvial settings, you can move from a few hundred, or from a few tens of feet of alluvium saturated thickness to almost zero in very short distances, like within a quarter of a mile and even less.
If we are planning to use potentially existing wells at this point, could we wait on the mapping until we had the need to actually further drill some wells? I mean,
Well, it wouldn't necessarily, only in the event that you were gonna be drilling wells next to existing wells, and that would, I don't know that that would make sense, because the existing wells are already permitted under Water Resources Board permits, so, it's not like you could use that water anyway. Unless, you know, that you had some kind of a contract with the landowner.
right. That was my point, if we had some contracts with landowners.
Right, and then it would go through, then there would be a permitting or a process that we would have to go through with the Water Resources Board to change that use to another use.
Yeah.
Jim, you might talk about the difference between irrigation and municipal wells.
Well, in terms of, irrigation wells, they're not required to construct the same standards. When we construct wells for water supply, they're high efficiency, high capacity wells. I know that a lot of the alluvial wells for use for irrigation are the same. But when you talk about the construction costs, there's a large difference in costs. So we want to make sure that when we drill a well in a location, we were pretty confident that, you know, we're going to have a well that's going to give us good yield.
Is it safe to say then that it's a common occurrence that if a municipality or a state or somebody was going to drill wells, then they would have some type of mapping done?
Yes, and all of you out here are familiar with the oil and gas industry. This is not unlike what the oil and gas industry does before they go and drill a well, a gas well or an oil well. You want to define that prospect as best as you can before you go in, put your money into drilling and completing the well. The same idea applies here.
We're not just recreating something that's already available.
No, I have not found a public map to show the thickness of the alluvium in this part of it, along the Washington, or any,
It
or any
appears
other
to
region.
me that we probably need this mapping before we start the other process, because this mapping will give us an indication of where we want to maybe drill our initial test well.
That's correct, that's exactly right.
The way I kind of read the material. So I would think that we probably need both of these agreements and probably stair-step the agreement for the mapping first, and then once the mapping is concluded, that the other agreement kicks in. Would you not agree with that?
I would agree with that. We talked earlier prior to the meeting, and I think we were all in concurrence that that would probably be the best way, so that we could, in this mapping, when it was presented to me, was that we want to make sure that we are spending the dollars in the most correct and efficient way, so that we're not just out drilling wells, test wells, we're not guessing, we're truly finding where the proper and abundance amount of water is for us. And so that's why I had a question there. Have you ever seen OWRB take an irrigation well and permit it, do a variance for public use, for public water use?
I have not. I'm not to say that there aren't any, but they're generally not constructed in the same manner. The construction requirements that are required by the DEQ for public supply are much more stringent than they are for irrigation.
So with that said, knowing we're going to have to find a location for wells, this is why the mapping was so critical, we felt like.
Good. Does the 11,000, is that correct?
For the mapping, correct.
And does that cover all the costs associated with it? Is that?
All the costs, I want to be sure I understand
Does that cover everything, or is that just?
that's just for generating a map similar to you have that you saw here. And then, of course, we would generate a technical memorandum or report along with it, as well as drafted copies of the maps, hard copies.
Okay.
That's those would be the deliverables.
Is that,
How long does that usually take?
Well, once we get started, and collection of the data is always the hardest, I think we can have that probably within, 45 days.
sometimes faster, you know. Okay.
I've got one question. Who owns the work product? The PEC or the city of Clinton?
The city of Clinton.
Well, I make the motion that we proceed ahead and authorize mayor to execute the mapping agreement with PEC.
It's a vote on action item C, it's a motion on action, action item C, do we have a second?
A second.
Trustee Roda?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Action item B, let's go in reverse. Authorizing PEC to prepare the ODEQ report for the water plant.
Well, council, as you know, this is a requirement and a stipulation to begin any type of process. You must work with DEQ. And as you read in the contract, this would begin that process so that we can finalize it and get all our answers, our questions answered, and really work with DEQ one-on-one, because we have to do that. And so if you have any additional questions, what you read, you've had it for a few weeks, you know, Ethan's here to answer those, Mike's here to answer those, but we feel it's necessary to get an understanding of our true costs and exactly the necessities and requirements that DEQ will provide so that we can get permitted to move forward on our own plan, if you would like to move forward on your own plan.
The cost incurred into this obligation is $160,000, is that correct? And that is just going to generate a report that basically says what we intend to do. Is that, am I misspeaking that?
It's a report, but it's also a submittal for permitting requirements.
Okay.
It's not a report to council, it's a report to give the state, give approval to proceed with plans and specifications for the design of the water plant, according to what is approved by DEQ in that report. Yes.
And what all will be in there? And does DEQ, do they very often say, change this and then we'll go ahead with it, or do they just say, no, this is what we'll do?
It is a process in which city and engineers and the state work together, absolutely.
I didn't hear what you said.
It's a process with the city and the state and the engineers working together to come up with a solution. The regulations are such that some of the types of components that we would use for this plant may require piloting, they may not. So it really depends on water quality, the data that we collect, the information we present to them, their interpretation of that data. So the more hand-holding that we do with DEQ, and more city involvement that we have, it'll be a much smoother process as far as that's concerned.
Ethan, you might want to, if you can't, you say revolving fund requires the economic analysis to verify that you paid the note back and you have no water. All of that, or they don't approve that.
What Mike's referring to is that they do an economic analysis for the municipality to show that they have already paid for the plant, as well as another important issue is to make sure that you have the water to treat, to serve that water plant. Those are two conditions that are very upfront, we need to cover with DEQ.
So
Go ahead.
well, I just think that leads back to the mapping.
Yes.
That mapping will help
Yes.
DEQ and OWRB.
To collect the data that we have the water, and that we have defined the process that can treat that water.
These exclusions that are listed into this agreement, do those, that seems to be the kind of meat and potatoes a little bit of what we're doing here. Is that, at what point will we be given the water chemistry? I mean, we're gonna have to drill wells. Is this after the report's submitted, or?
The water chemistry analysis is required for data for the report. The rest of the exclusion items for surveying, and geotechnical and design, the plans and specifications, that's all part of the design process. We're talking about the engineering board approval process with DEQ only.
Where was the chemistry at again? I'm sorry, the chemistry analysis? Where'd you say?
Wait, that simply means that the city is responsible for paying for the analysis,
Oh.
so that we can get the data we need to submit to the state for approval.
So, are we going to have, are we, is the city of Clinton going to be responsible for that on top of the $160,000 to submit the report to DEQ?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And this will give us an absolute, or a final number as to what we have to spend to get our own plan too, right?
It will give you a detailed cost opinion with a detailed design report to.
But if we do proceed ahead, we do this agreement, and we do proceed ahead, any fee you charge for this will be deducted from the fee you charge.
That is correct.
But we're going to be responsible.
Well, yeah, there's always a tremendous amount of elements, any kind of, testing, very, very common. This isn't uncommon or anything.
No.
We do.
Piloting and expenses for testing is something that I can't put a price tag on because we haven't engaged vendors to get a price for this, and we haven't engaged DEQ to figure out exactly what they're going to want us to do.
And that all comes after approval.
That comes with the approval of the report.
Okay.
It's part of the process of.
So that's,
working
that's all
with-
stuff we're moving forward on with this authorization.
So
But you have no idea what it will cost.
for, until I get the water chemistry data, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a pretty good idea. I'll tell you, it's not with the new chemical and chemistry data. We've done it with other water qualities, working with Jeremy, several trends. Those are things we do. We have an idea. You're not looking, if you're worried about the fact that you're gonna see another $100,000 on top of this, this is not what you're gonna see. I mean, it may cost $800 for some, or $1,000 a year or something for that. That can happen. We know what those costs are. But as soon as DEQ tells us, then we can determine exactly what those costs are and what they're needing, depending on what the test requirements that they're asking. Am I correct?
Sure. They may allow us to use an existing well for water quality data, they may not.
They may ask us to do a test well.
Correct.
And that will be an additional cost to us. The piloting, there's additional cost to that piloting, monitoring, that's additional cost, correct?
Didn't Ross's pilot test, didn't they authorize Ronnie to spend $100,000 to do an RO pilot test?
Yeah, they've authorized them to do I don't know what the amount was, but yeah, there was a fairly significant cost to their particular piloting. But I'm not sure ours would be exactly like that. I think,
No, sir.
So, they'll look at the financing options also and see what's possible and what isn't?
The state,
Yeah.
they're
Before they'll permit it?
they're looking for the municipality's ability to pay back the loan or to be able to finance it.
Which we're talking about sales tax, basically?
well, that's been proposed as an idea. OWRB will sit down, they will tell us what a debt service will be. We can determine at that point in time if you would like to look at that as being on your particular water rates. Or we have talked about potentially using sales tax to cover some of the capital costs. So there will be options to look at, working with OWRB during this process, which Clinton's worked with OWRB in the past. We have loans currently with them right now, we just refinanced with them on some stuff. So we work with them, and it's common, and so it's, we'll get options, and you can determine if you like one or the other, and then let the folks in the community decide if the sales tax is an option rather than capital cost. And one of the nice things about that, you can determine on what that potentially will mean to rates versus if you went a different direction, what the, it would look like rates, because you have two different things, you have capital costs and operational maintenance costs. So there's two different things to look at.
All right, well, would it not make sense to wait, what he said, up to 45 days before we proceed and look at the mapping?
Actually, that's,
Before we move forward with this?
That's my,
I'm sure a lot of information.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the motion that we proceed with this agreement with PEC, but they've got it where it starts 10 business days upon receipt of executed copy. I think we need to amend this, that the agreement would start within 10 days after receipt of the mapping agreement, or the mapping. But anyway, I make the motion we proceed with the agreement with PEC with this one amendment.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Hewland?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
No.
And Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Action item D, consider bids for Chapman Avenue sewer line extension. D.
Council, when we sold the property to Keaton Modi, we agreed that we would extend our sewer line. And so we had Joe Rudy design that for us. And so we sent that out for bids because we believe it was going to be over the $50,000 estimate. Currently, he has the estimate at $94,000. I don't know how many bids you received. One bid at this time. And Keaton Modi had agreed in the sale of the property to split the cost of the sewer line with the city of Plainview.
Okay, open the bids up, huh? Open the bid, singular. It's all right, you go ahead. Rhonda, go ahead. Thanks. All right. Oh, how do I get this? All right, so the bid is $249,625, and that is submitted by Downey Contracting LLC. And I'm reading it right. Yes, I am. And that's the only bid that we have.
I move we reject the bid.
We have a second.
What was the engineer's estimate?
94,000.
Second
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Hewland?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
And Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to recommend the city manager gives, I mean, this is the second time this has happened, you know, I think the engineer did a good job. Go talk to Terry Igo and see if we can't get him to, work with us on getting the sewer line put in.
Yeah, council, I'll definitely back with Joe, and, you know, we have another project that was, as you know, the housing that was well over estimate, so we'll try to find out. We thought we had a pretty good idea. We did not get some bids from that one, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but we'll find out what's going on with this and why we're not getting bids from locals, and maybe find out what's going on.
Well, the biggest problem, I said, you know, going back to the addition, it looks to me like, you know, I kind of knew what some of the costs were going to be. And, you know, we get into a bonding situation and it's over so much money. I think we need to be negotiating. We know what the price is, but the engineer is not going to be off that money. And we need to be, if there's more than two people, do some negotiating with those. I think Dauber can do work like that, and also Terry Igo, let's get to negotiating with them, and get this within reason.
Can you do that by statute?
Yeah, we can visit with them, and if we have to get prices with them. If we can feel like we can get this under $50,000, then we take prices. It's not to be hard to bid, we bond it. If it's over $50,000, then you have to do close bids.
But we might furnish some material.
Right, and there's some options that we'll talk about here in that next agenda, and this may be the same case in this one. We may need to go back and, Joe, maybe we need to meet with Joe and find out maybe the city can purchase some material. I don't know, we'll just have to go back and figure out what's going on and why we're seeing high prices. And I'll just let, you know, I talked to Joe on this last project, and you know, he was frustrated, and he's been bidding some other projects out in other towns just around Clinton, and he hadn't had this issue. So what is happening here locally that we're seeing this, I don't know. We'll try to find that out and bring it back to you.
Let's figure out some way to get the price.
Absolutely.
But, you know, one option is we buy it.
That is an option.
Well, who put in our sewer line along Old 66 for Right Services and?
Terriago.
Yeah.
That was a loan-up project that we went and got prices,
And we purchased the material. for
first
that.
material,
Yeah.
and both trucking companies are paying half the material for that, because they were the one who requested that, and which is going to be nothing but a good thing moving forward in that area for that industrial park. And again, that, you know, this was in our budget without even, you know, we thought Mr. Engineer Espen would be in our budget, so we have them do everything, but we will go back and, you know, we saw a project when I first got here, the project on, you know, Rapido, you know, water line, that came well under budget, you know, so I don't know what's happening, it's a bad time of year, they're busy, and so we're not getting, so we'll go back and figure out, and we can make some adjustments.
I think it is a workload and scheduling issue.
And that affects bids sometimes, when they're not able to do it within our time frame. Maybe we can adjust our time frame as well, so they have more time to do the project. So we'll make some adjustments to make it.
Okay. Action item E, consider discuss the purchase or appraisal of real property, including an executive session as also authorized by this statute. Consider a motion to move into executive session and to invite our city manager.
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session and invite the city manager to do it.
I'll second that motion.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yep.
And Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll now consider a motion to move back into regular session.
I so move.
Second.
Trustee Lowry?
Yes.
Trustee Hewlin?
Yes.
Trustee Rhoda?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes, no action was taken. Trustee report regarding this particular authority. Anybody here? Anyone left? City manager's report. Steve?
Nothing additional tonight.
Audience participation regarding this particular authority.
You're talking about the water?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Just real quick on PEC, and I'm a Johnny-come-lately on this. Is there a competing brand with them? I mean, have we heard from people that do what they do other than them? Because what are we spending? Rod, what'd you guys write? 25 million or whatever magic number it is. Is that right? 25, 30 million? What's it going to be to do this?
There's an early estimate.
Okay, have we had a competing group come in to hear from a different perspective? That's a lot of money. Okay. Let me ask a few questions, and I'm going to direct it towards you guys that are going to make a lifelong decision for this community. We'll be dead long and gone when this decision's been made. This means this is big time. Okay, and it's really what it's about, and Pat Riley said it when he was coaching the Los Angeles Lakers, the singleness of purpose. Do you guys have a singleness of purpose for this community? That's critical in my eyes. Okay, we're in a water crisis. The preacher said it, we're in one. Okay, how long have we been in this water crisis? 2 years?
2 to 3 years.
I think we were in it probably before that.
What ultimately is our solution? And I'm going to just put what the newspapers put. I'm just as valuable as what Gigi and Rod has written. And I'm going to name these people that have what. Okay, I've heard this, I've read it, and I don't know, I'm not in the know, you guys are. Burns Flat, Clinton Lake, Foss Lake, Clanton, the Canute plant versus raw water. Our own plant. Okay, where is our level of priority? Where are we at? Where is me as a citizen, and I read this stuff, you guys read this stuff, where are we at? And what are these guys doing? I mean, I don't know. What are we doing? Where to go? What are we, we're depending on you guys. What's our step? Where are we going? We're gonna toss out whatever big number there is. Where are we going?
We just moved ahead.
Okay, so that's step number one to solve the problem, Don?
Well, let's back up. We're still working with Canute. We're working with Canute on raw water. We're still going to pursue Canute as much as we can. We're still hoping it's going to rain to put some water into Clinton Lake.
I'm not gonna do the Lucky Rabbit's Foot anymore. I tried that.
But we made the decision tonight to move ahead with the water analysis with PEC. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to solve the problem.
What do you think, Lucas?
I agree with Don. I mean, I think we took a big step tonight, and moving forward with PEC to get things going.
Why should we feel comfortable as a community?
The way I see it is we have three sources, right? What's your point, Dave?
Where are we going?
We're moving forward right now with a solution that, in my opinion, is going to give us water for decades to come in the future. And right now, it looks like the most promising source. So we have two choices, in my opinion. We can either sit here and wait, and we can hope that somebody else solves the problem for us, or we can be active, and we can make the decision to spend $160,000 and get a report to ODEQ and look at our own plant, which we will control. So you're talking about singleness of purpose.
I've been for
We will be a single person right there controlling it.
What do you think, buddy? Same, ditto.
Not exactly.
I've read what you said about, the Foss Lake and Clinton Lake, so, and again, I'm not trying to put a personal affront on anybody. That's not why I'm here. I mean, I know I'm a Johnny-come-lately to this whole thing, but
I think our own in-town water treatment plant would be, would be the Cadillac for us. I don't know that we can afford it. I don't know that we want to strap ourselves to something indefinitely. I mean, we're not talking about 25 years. We're not going to close the doors and sell it after that, I think that that's something we're going to have to consider going forward. But I do think it would be a nice, if we decide we can pay for it, I think it'd be a nice addition to Clinton.
Agreed.
To have. I do think I think Steve especially has done a great job working with Foss and keeping us in tune with what they're doing. And I think it's probably the most active role Clinton's had with our Foss board members in decades. And like Don said, we're still working with Canute, and I hope we can get a good source of water coming into Clinton Lake. Clinton plant's obviously the cheapest way for us to deliver water to the citizens. If we can continue to work from that angle, that's the cheapest way, and I like the cheap ways of doing things.
What do you think, Jay?
Well, I have felt like in this whole process for the year and a half that I've been involved in it, that we have pursued other avenues. For whatever reasons, here or there, they have ended in roadblocks, or something hasn't quite turned out the way that we anticipated. I personally don't like the fact that I personally feel like we're cornered into making this decision. We don't have any other option. There is, realistically, no matter, we can take cost and think about it, and I'm a conservative person, and so this is really bugging me. I take no pride in just saying yes, because we don't know 15 years from now if we can even afford to operate the plant. But we have to do something now, and it's we've let, and this is another thing that bugs me about all of this, is that we've let mismanagement, in my opinion, of our resources get us into this dire emergency that we're in. We still don't know to this day how much water Foss Lake holds. When we talk about it's 20% full, what's 20% of what? We've never done, we started out there and then we moved away. But ultimately, I'm praying that long term, this is going to solve our problems 50 years from now, and that we can pay for it. That our community grows, and that we're able to pay for it. That your great grandkids will be able to have the best quality water in western Oklahoma, and we can afford it.
I'm not going to jack with you guys any longer. So the number one priority is getting our own plan. Yeah, which I think it's wonderful because we control our destiny. But then, of course, like you're saying, we've got facilities that can handle it. But so it'd be our own plan, number one. Number two is Canute Water, Burns Flat, John George Wells. And I realize this is tough, and I'm not trying to, again, slug you guys in the face.
I think Foss is always gonna be at the top, at this point, mainly because we've got an agreement with them where we take or pay, and I think they may not be able, I don't think they're gonna be able to provide all our water, but they're always gonna provide us with water.
Our portfolio consists of Clinton Lake, Foss, and in the future, a water treatment facility here in town. No matter how somebody will understand, you combine that the cheapest way possible to bring water to the citizens of this community. I don't know that it really ranks either or direction.
Well, I think the number one priority is just to solve our water problem as efficiently and as far into the future as possible. And then this is the next step in doing that. All right, what else you got? Any other items? Yes, sir.
Floyd Hoffman, I want to encourage the council to move out on this plant in Clinton, regardless if we get water, rain, or any place like, even both all dams get full around here. There's still not going to be enough to supply what we need, what we plan to grow to.
Yes, sir.
If we don't get water here, it makes no difference how good a school we got, how good a building we got, or anything else. Nobody's going to be here. You can't live without water. I know you're worried about cost, but it's going to cost a lot more in the future if we don't move out quick. And I also encourage, think about the buying the water rights out here on Barnett's Creek and places like that for future use. So the city of Clinton will always be able to maintain their home status. They don't have to depend on somebody else, rainwater from the lake out there. And I want to encourage you very much. And I thank you very much for stepping out.
Right. Yes, sir. Anybody else?
With the potential tax rate increase, where would that put us among the state, other cities?
Well, we haven't determined exactly. If you're talking, you go up, let's say, half penny, it puts you in the upper percentile. Right now, we're the average.
Upper 1%?
No, not upper one, but in the upper level of probably the top 20% of higher rates. Right now, we're probably in the average. But there are cities that, example, Lawton, they're higher than us. Watonga, much higher than us. Full Penny higher than us. So I think it's not that, there's more cities that do have higher rates than us. We're in the average right now. But it would have, to fund this through sales tax, it would take a potential, partial increase for a couple of years until the fire example. We talked about a half penny increase for 6 years, and then you could let that go off in 6 years, and then allow then your sales tax from your fire station that you have currently right now, finish an additional 19 years. And I say that over 25 years because that's basically what OWRB, that's the max you can go with OWRB.
Right. And I guess I read in the paper this week where Severn Trent, said Clinton Lake is the Clinton facility is expected for maybe another 10 years. So, and I hate to assume things or anything like that, but let's say it goes down in 10 years. We're back down to sources of water in our portfolio. How do we get more money? I agree that we need to move forward with the plan. Man, I'm scared to death of $25 to $30 million, whether it's through sales tax or splitting it between that and the tap fees or whatever it is. That's just a lot of money. And we're spending money before we have a guarantee on it. We're authorizing $171,000 before we even know that the citizens are gonna authorize the extra penny sales tax. And we've spent money on things before that didn't pan out, and that's what scared me. I don't envy your position at all. We do need a plan, but be careful with the money.
Maybe we need the largest plan available.
I don't disagree with that. But going back to Dave's point, I'll be 57 if and when this gets paid off.
Boy, that water tastes good till then.
I hope so.
All right.
It could get worse.
I don't know, what is our sales tax?
Well, we have 4 pennies, and this would put us, a half penny would put us at 10, so we're 9.5 right now, it puts us at 10. So, I mean, there's other cities that are higher than that, but I mean, this would put us at the top, you know, if you increase a little bit, it'd put you in the top, 25% or so. I don't have the exact numbers. I've been looking at our cities around the state that have higher than the 4 pennies, and a lot of them have that based on special projects. But it's a mechanism, and the reason why we recommended this is based on capital costs. I'll be honest with you, my recommendation is very clear that Clinton Lake is a potential option for a few years. It captures water, has water. Foss is you can look at the age of Foss, infrastructure, it will continue to grow, they will continue to upgrade, and the only mechanisms they have are through water rates only. And if you're talking about business and industry, water rates are a concern. But you have to have water to grow and to maintain your community the size of where you are today. So staff truly feels that a water treatment facility is needed. To fund it, the most feasible economic way that's prudent is a sales tax extension, because you can allow guests, visitors to help cover that cost without putting on the average homeowner and fixed income folks to pay for that. But I'll say this, when you said we're concerned about a $25 million project, it'll be the biggest project Clinton's done. But Clinton has a great history of paying projects down, doing a lot of different funding, bonding projects, and has always found a way to do it. And if there is a special project in the future, I feel that Clinton always steps up and finds a way to fund it. And there's many alternative ways to do things, whichever it could be, whatever project. And we know we have projects like roads, streets, water lines, Acton Park, things always need upgrading. But without water, and I know maybe I'm on a soapbox here a little bit, without water, we cannot move forward on anything.
Let me make one comment, Steve. This will answer one of your questions. Do you know how much we paid Foss for the overage this month for water that we received from Foss?
I have no idea.
Paid $86,000. You multiply that $86,000 times 25 years, you know how much money that is? That's probably less than what the plant's gonna cost us.
What is the expected life of the plant?
Decades.
Well, you're going to build a 40-year plant.
What was Foss's expected life, and how long did it last?
I don't know when they expect it. I mean, obviously, you're going to always have to put money into the plant. For 25 years, you're expected to put some upgrades, water quality changes, DEQ standards, the EPA standards change, or you should tweak it. That's part of your O&M. Foss, one thing you're not going to do, you don't want to fund it for 40 years. You don't want to bond it for 40 years. You want to bond it for 25 years through WRB, or you can always refinance it, get better rates, but you want to make sure that you don't extend that life, because you're going to have to do upgrades, and I think you've seen that with recent facilities around the state. You don't extend yourself out and overfund the project with the life of it, but it's a probably 40-year project. Clinton Lake facility, built in '84, I believe. I mean, the life of that facility is, everything has a life, even Foss. That's why they're looking at upgrades.
Don, what's creating those overages? What's creating the overage?
That's the extra water we buy from Foss.
Right. What's-
Lack of a second source.
What is creating it though?
Because we can't get any water from Clinton.
Okay, okay, that's, and yes, I am for in-town plan creating, and taking matters into our own hands also. I mean, I think that's worthwhile.
One way.
All right, any other audience participation? Hearing none, trustee reports. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Consider a motion to adjourn the Public Works Authority meeting.
I make a motion, we adjourn the Public Works Authority meeting.
I'll second that.
Trustee Hewlin,
Yes.
trustee Lowry,
Yes.
trustee Martinez,
Yes.
trustee Rodoff,
Yes.
and chairman.
Yes. On to the Industrial Authority meeting. Consider a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Hewlin,
Yes.
trustee Martinez,
Yes.
trustee Lowry,
Yes.
trustee Rodoff,
Yes.
and chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Action item A, consider recommendation regarding bids for roadway, water, and sewer line for Robinson Additions.
I move we reject all of it.
I will second that.
That was easy one.
So we won't have to do that.
Oh, man, yeah.
Next week, I've already
Okay.
made the motion we reject.
Trustee Rodoff,
Yeah.
trustee Hewlin.
Yes.
Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
And trustee Lowry.
Yes.
And chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Trustee report,
But I
Mr.
think
Oh,
I had a comment
Oh.
to make on this.
Trustee
We
report.
need to get with individuals and get to work on getting this addition done. We can do, talk to Barbara, and, talk to local people about working out the way to private, private night. Let's do some negotiating, because I think we'll get this done in that budget.
We agree, and we've begun that process, and we're gonna break out the elements. Streets will be separate compared to utilities. We can get involved with some infrastructure, purchasing of piping, and maybe even some additional support. Our staff can't, every day, lay the entire thing, but we can be out there with some tapping and some things to do. So we feel we can get it within budget. So we'll bring that back to you, but we actually think we will not have to hard bid some of the items because they'll be under the $50,000 bond mark.
We know what the lift station's gonna cost, $50,000. We pretty well know what the paving's gonna cost and the curb gutter, and come back with some recommendations.
We'll have some stuff for you.
All right, any other trustee reports? Hearing none, city manager's report, Steve.
I think we covered it.
Audience participation, regarding the Industrial Authority. Hearing none, seeing none, consider a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Industrial Authority.
I move that we adjourn the Industrial Authority.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Hewlin.
Yes.
Trustee Martinez.
Yes.
Trustee Rodoff,
Yes.
trustee Lowry.
Yes.
And chairman.
Yes, ma'am. On to the regular meeting of the Clinton City Council. Consider a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Hewlin.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilman Rodoff,
Yes.
Councilman Lowry,
Yes.
and mayor.
Yes. Action item A, consider mutual aid agreement with the town of Burns Flat, Steve.
Council, the city of Burns Flat has asked for a mutual aid agreement, an official agreement that they've provided to us for their fine and auditing. They need to have this so that if we need to assist them, they have the clarification of what we can assist them with, and we agree. So we encourage you to approve the mutual aid agreement. So if we have to help them, we will do so within those guidelines.
Do we have a motion to approve this agreement?
I move we approve.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman Rodoff,
Yes.
Councilman Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Hewlin,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
and mayor.
Yes. Action item B, consider intergovernmental agreement with Oklahoma Department, with ODOT. Steve?
Council, a similar agreement as a mutual aid. This is an agreement that working with ODOT, if they have to assist us in certain items, that they have the ability to go on our, on our intercommunity, on certain properties to do that and assist us, and clarification for them so they can assist us in need. And again, very good. It's an ongoing thing we do every year with them. We do recommend approval with this agreement with ODOT.
Consider a motion to approve this agreement.
I move that we approve this agreement.
Second.
Councilman Hewland?
Yes.
Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
Councilman Rodoff?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Action item C, consider early payoff of the improvements lease purchase for City Hall roof and windows.
Well, council, we did put this in the budget. What we'd like to do is, we've been building reserves and capital improvement as well as general fund. And obviously, with the interest rates at record lows many times, this right now in our time, we'd like to put that money better to use and save at least around $20,000 and pay this off early. We have the funding in our capital improvement fund ready to go. We think it's paying 4.14%. We're not earning that much on our money. We'd like to pay this off.
Pay off early, good idea. Consider a motion to allow Steve to pay this off early. Anybody?
I know we authorize the payoff.
Second.
Councilman Rodoff?
Yes.
Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Hewland?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Action item D, request authorization to purchase the top dresser at the golf course. Steve.
Well, again, council, we put this in the budget. We talked about moving one top dresser, calibrating that out to the Parks and Rec department, to how they would use the top dresser versus how we would need a new one for our greens. Kelly has come to me. I agree that it's time. We'd like to purchase that, get that here. And the reason we're coming to you so quickly because he can get this thing within a number of weeks, which is perfect timing this time of year, and it's very delicate when you top dress on our type of greens, especially our newer greens. And so we recommend, this is state contract pricing. He's also got additional pricing that's been well above this pricing. So sometimes we can beat it, sometimes we can't. So far, right now, the state contract is the best price.
Consider a motion to request this authorization.
I move we purchase the top dresser.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'll second that.
Councilman Rodoff?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Hewland?
Yes.
Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Council reports. Hearing none. City manager's report, Steve.
2 items, council. OML is September 17th, 18th, and 19th at Tulsa. Encourage you, if you'd like to go, get with me if you can this week with Rhonda, so she can schedule you if you'd like to attend. You can take care of the transportation and all the registration items. It would be good to attend if you can. Also, this Friday is the chamber banquet. We have purchased tickets to the chamber for this. If you'd like to go, please let us know. We've got tickets for you. So please let me know so we can have a good attendance there. And that is all I have.
All right, audience participation regarding the regular meeting of the Clinton City Council. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amber Cox. I've been here in Clinton for a little over 5 years now. I've been involved in many different things, so I recognize some of your faces here. The most recent thing I've become involved in is my husband Ed and my daughter Shay, we noticed an increase in cats in our community. We do work with Friends for Life, so we're already very involved with the dog situation, and we're trying to teach our dog responsibility. So we told her at the end of this past school year, you know, if you see a problem in your neighborhood, you should clean it up, you should handle it. So we decided we would trap cats and get them fixed over the summer. That venture became much bigger than I expected, and hence I'm standing here in front of you now. On the 25th of last month, we were able to catch 11 cats. We could have gotten more, but we had to deal with funding and transportation. We took them to a low-cost spay-neuter clinic in Oklahoma City, got them fixed, and then brought them back here. This is pretty acceptable throughout most of the United States to trap and release stray and feral cats. There's a lot of benefit to it. I would love to have the opportunity to discuss that more with the council, because I would like to see this become a kind of permanent situation in the city. And here's the reason I'm coming to you. I have gone through the chain of command. I've spoken with the animal control officer, who referred me to Captain Parker, who referred me to Chief Crabtree, who referred me to City Manager Hewitt, and every step along the way, I spoke with every single power that be that I was aware of, and was not discouraged at any point. As a matter of fact, City Manager Hewitt was gracious enough to assist us in the transportation, and we were able to get 11 cats and 2 dogs fixed, shots, and now good members of the community compared to what they were. Here's where a problem came in. Literally, the day of the transport, I was informed, we'll just leave it at that if I released those animals, I would be breaking the law and could be in big trouble. So I've done some research. Turns out our city ordinances, and I have them here if anybody wants me to share them with you, say that we cannot let animals roam at large, just to summarize. Any animals. Most communities do not include cats in a quote-unquote leash law. However, our city ordinances do include cats. I don't know about you, but I don't see too many cats running around on leashes. I'm not saying I wouldn't think it was okay, but what I'm saying is it's not generally acceptable. It's not generally something a city requires. However, technically, we do here in Clinton. Additionally, if you let your cat roam at large or a stray cat in your neighborhood that you have fed, you have now agreed to provide care. You now become responsible for that animal. So now even the people it became a huge mess. For the time being, nobody's pressed any charges on me for having released these cats. I did go through the chain of command. Purest of intentions, not that the law cares about purest of intentions. Regardless, now we've had a stop put on our ability to continue trying to grow a program like this in our community. We are working with Friends for Life. I just happen to be the one in Friends for Life who chose to pick up this cross and kind of carry it. Several concerns I have. First of all, I would like to have the opportunity to discuss with you guys more what a stray and feral catch and release and program, what the benefits would be. Why would we want to even entertain this? Number one. Number two, I'd like to discuss with you guys the opportunity to potentially work on our city ordinances a little. They haven't been updated since 1991. We're talking a long time, and a lot of things have changed since then with animals. 91, I hadn't even graduated high school yet. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a ways back. So there's several things I'd like the opportunity to discuss further with the council. But this is just the next step. I don't really know where to go now in finding out what to do. What I do know is I don't personally want to receive a $99 fine for each cat I released. Then on top of that, another $124 for not registering with the city. I have proof of them receiving rabies shots, so they're a healthier animal now. They can be a positive part of the community, but I don't want fines, and I don't know how to go properly through the city ordinances without getting myself in trouble. So I'm here to ask for your assistance.
I don't think the judge would give you a ticket for that.
Well, that all sounds fine and good, but the next judge might.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking $223 per
I might
cat.
recommend, if you'll give me some, if you'll give me some time, I'll research how some other cities are dealing with this issue. And maybe I'll work with Chief Crabtree and our animal control officer and see if there's what other cities are, how they're managing it.
Well, but Chief Crabtree in charge of it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think he needs an award for dealing with this problem.
Hey, I'm not that bad.
No, I mean that lightheartedly, because he wants to work with, but we also want to follow the law. And I appreciate what Chief Crabtree, I mean, he's trying to, we don't want to have a law in the books that we don't follow. So we will research it and be back.
You should know one thing, the
Yes, sir.
ordinances have been changed since 91. Maybe this particular ordinance has not been changed
Right.
since 91, but the ordinances have been brought up to date since 91.
Right, and I'm sorry if I didn't specify that enough. The ordinances that specifically pertain to this, which has to do with animals roaming at large and definition of what an animal is, so that it specifies, does that include cats? And then also the ordinance that says it's unlawful for, once we've provided care, to allow them to roam. So those couple ordinances, and I'm happy to,
Good work, police chief.
okay. My only concern is that I don't want it to be put off. Because, and the reason I say that, we've already been working on this for a
Come back
number
to
of
the next meeting.
weeks. Pardon?
Come back to the next meeting.
Okay.
I'll send out a bulletin to the other city managers and find out what other cities are doing right now and see if there's something that we can do, might be able to adjust our ordinance. And I'll work with Ryan on maybe adjusting that a little bit, Chief Crabtree, we'll see what we can find.
Well, and even as a part of that, there is options, and I've been speaking with some organizations about potentially getting low-cost spay-neuter situations out here, which would also help, because the folks that are allowing their animals to roam at large, that are helping with this stray and feral population, if we help them out with a low-cost option, maybe they'll get their animals taken care of. So I really have a delusion of grandeur that it's all going to be pretty and perfect next week, but, you know,
We meet.
we'll start here.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other audience participation? Hearing none, consider a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Councilman Hewlin?
Yes.
Councilman Lowry? Lowry?
Yes.
Councilman Rodoff? Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.